Hi everyone, thank you for coming to week 5 of Nexus Fostering's virtual event series. I'm Hayley, the marketing manager, and these are my colleagues, Emily and Julia. Guys, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily, the head of supported fostering. So I manage all of Nexus's sort of therapeutic packages, complex and parent and child.
Hi, I'm Julia Press. I'm a therapeutic lead here with Nexus. So I work alongside fostering families who have what we call supported placements. So those that have kind of a package of support around them to support them care for the kids living with them. And I also work alongside our support workers. So those that are going out and doing direct work with children and young people in the community.
Thank you. So this week is all about the power of therapeutic fostering. So it's a huge topic and we've got loads to get through. So I'm going to pass straight over to the ladies.
Excellent. Thank you, Hayley. So we're going to kick off today by watching a short video clip from a care leaver called Josh Ship. So Hayley's going to kindly get the video up. And then we're going to talk a bit about it.
I tried to kill myself with a bottle of pills. And the fact of the matter is I trusted no one. And looking back, I guess how could I? From the time my parents left me, to the time another foster kid raped me, to the time I was bullied so bad, I genuinely could not fathom a world where I could trust anybody. So fast forward, here I am, 14 years old, and entering my umpteenth foster home. I was a veteran at this whole sort of getting kicked out of one home, moved to the next. You meet these people who were like literally complete and total strangers 10 minutes ago who are now apparently your mom and dad. You know, kids don't take candy from strangers, just move in with them. So I'm sitting in the van in the driveway of this next home, and that's when I see Rodney. He's standing up there on the front porch, and immediately I notice this is a large fella. He's 6'5", he's 350 pounds, and as a 14-year-old boy, I couldn't help but notice, when he's turned to the side like that, he's shaped like a lowercase b. It's amusing now, but in the moment it was tactical. Maybe that's how I could get kicked out of this home. Maybe I could get under his skin about his weight. So I move in with him. I'm being obnoxious, I'm being ungrateful, I'm being just downright rude and mean, I'm setting things on fire, and 3 years later, I can't shake this guy. Rodney won't kick me out. So I step up my game. I go to the local bank in town, I open up a checking account. I put about $90 in there. Then I proceed to write $10,000 worth of checks. Obviously, checks bouncing one after the next after the next. One check that bounced was for my car insurance. I'm going down the road speeding, Stillwater, Oklahoma, 88 miles an hour. No car insurance, no driver's license. I get pulled over, handcuffed, thrown in the back of a cop car, and sent to jail. I call Rodney. Like, Rodney, I'm in Stillwater, I'm in jail, I'll tell you the whole thing when you get here. Can you please come bail me out tonight? He said, I will come bail you out, but not till tomorrow. Rodney frustratingly believed sometimes one of the most loving things you could do for a kid was allow them to sit in either the success of their wonderful choice or the stupidity of their foolish choice. Next morning, he comes, bails me out, exactly as promised. We have a long, very awkward car ride home. No one says anything. We get back to the house. He's like, we need to sit down and talk. And I knew this moment had finally come. So Rodney, his wife, sit me down to give me the talk I've had a dozen times. He looks in my eyes and says, son, you can keep causing problems. You can keep trying to mess up. You can keep pushing us away. You can keep trying to get us to kick you out of here, but you've got to get it through your thick head, son. We don't see you as a problem. We see you as an opportunity. And in that moment, all my skepticism came to the surface. And I thought, what a cheesy, stupid thing to say to a 17-year-old kid. But then I was overwhelmed with the reality that this guy actually meant it. He didn't see what I was, what was on the surface. The obnoxious kid, the ungrateful kid, the kid getting suspended. He saw what I could be. It was genuinely my turning point. Statistically, I am supposed to be dead, in jail, or homeless, but because of one caring adult. I'm not a statistic. Every kid is one caring adult away from being a success story. Every child who winds up doing well has had at least one stable and committed relationship with a supportive adult. My friend and mentor Reggie Joyner taught me to think about it this way. In this jar are 936 marbles. Each one of these marbles represents a single week from the birth of a kid until that kid turns 18 years old. So, if you know a 9-year-old, you've only got 468 marbles, or weeks, however you want to look at it, remaining. You know a 16-year-old? You got 104 marbles remaining. Right here, we are looking at time. In fact, you're looking at all the time or all of the weeks you have left to influence this kid, or this kid before they turn 18 and begin making critical life decisions without your presence. The difference between a statistic and a success story is you.
Wow.
Right, thank you, Hayley. It's a powerful video. And I think what it leaves me with, I guess, is hope that actually foster carers can make a difference. And they can be that one caring adult if they remember that kind of story, the story behind the behavior. And that's what we talk to our foster carers quite a lot within the kind of therapeutic team. And I just wanted to kind of start really with this image of a brain scan, because I think it's a really important starting point to think about how trauma and neglect impacts the brain. And this was taken from a piece of research by Bruce Perry, who's a psychiatrist, and he specializes in childhood trauma. I would highly recommend him. Look him up if you're interested. He wrote an amazing book called The Boy That Was Raised as a Dog. Let's give that a try. But what this shows is a 3-year-old's brain on the left, a healthy 3-year-old with an average head size. And then on the right, we have an image of a 3-year-old that's experienced severe sensory deprivation and neglect. So I think it's really powerful just to see the size difference there and the impact that neglect and trauma can have on the developing brain. And what actually happens if children's needs, I guess, aren't met early on, so they're not picked up, they're not cuddled, they're not talked to, that kind of mid area of the brain is very, very kind of overdeveloped. Now, that mid area of the brain deals with things like safety and the stress response. So what we get is children that are kind of primed for stress. So they're always looking for a threat. They've done that because that's helped them survive. But it also means that we have children and young people that grow up to be quite impulsive. So that's what we're seeing. We also have that kind of thinking and feeling part of the brain, that the kind of and the higher brain that is underdeveloped. So in a way, it's smaller. So we then have children and young people that struggle to build relationships, so to trust people, kind of build attachments, which is what we talk about a lot. We have children that struggle to manage those really, really big feelings, what we might call emotional regulation. They struggle with things like executive functioning, and they're the things like planning, organizing, shifting from one activity to another. And I know if I talk to carers about that, they think, oh yeah, when I'm asking my child to kind of get ready in the morning or do what might seem like a simple activity, it can feel like a real struggle, because that part of the brain has been really impacted by the early days. I think kind of lastly on that list really, but very importantly, because of this experience and the way the brain has developed, and those early years, our children experience pervasive shame. So that really kind of low confidence, that negative self-belief and kind of sense of self really. So sadly, in a way, that's the starting point for a lot of the children and young people in the care of our foster carers. But I do want people to hold on to that, because actually, if we remember that, what we're going to do is we're going to change our responses and the way that we see our children and the way that we then respond to them. So yeah, if you just look at this kind of next slide here, it's titled The Perfect Storm. And what we're really referring to is, I guess, a combination of those kind of poor early attachments and relationships, impacted brain development, like I've just referenced, and kind of impacted nervous system, in a way is like a perfect storm with regards to how our children view themselves, how they view others, and how they view the world. So in a way, they've got evidence actually that people aren't safe, they can't be trusted, and the world's not safe, and actually that I'm not really kind of valuable, or kind of maybe worthy of attention and love. So there's a kind of a big list there, you know, of children and young people not feeling safe, cared for, being frightened, feeling ignored, feeling alone, feeling that they're bad, because actually in a way that's what they've been shown by the way that they've been cared for early on or not cared for. And yeah, the view of the world being kind of, you know, a really scary, dangerous place, and actually that, you know, it can't really be trusted. So then we get those kind of real behaviors and those strategies that our kids put in place to survive in this really difficult environment. Again, what I would say, if we understand that as foster carers, what we do is we start to empathize with our children, and what we do is we start to kind of respond to them rather than react to the behaviors and presentations we see, because we see them as not kind of, you know, a neurotypical child, a child that's grown up in kind of loving homes, secure homes. We view children that have had a really difficult start, and because of that, see the world through a completely different lens. And then what we start to do is we start to rewire that brain, because it's plastics, which means it can change and shift. We might call that developmental reparenting. So we're going backwards and we're filling in those blocks that were missed earlier on. So really good starting place, I think, to kind of hold on to in terms of understanding, yeah, where our children started from, really.
And I think it's important to say that this is for any age child, isn't it? You know, this isn't, say, limited to teenagers or people that about emotions. Actually, this is any age child, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, you know, we're even talking about pre-birth. So some of our children experience toxic kind of stress in utero. So, you know, if mum has been exposed to kind of domestic violence or fearful environments, the child will be impacted by that. And that's even before they're born. So it's very significant, and it will change the way that brain develops and is wired, and again, how they see themselves in the world. So yeah, this slide here refers to Circle of Security. So this is a program that we've adopted here at Nexus. It's an attachment-based program and training. It's an 8-week course that's based on kind of videos. And what it does really is it uses imagery to think about relationships. And in a way, it gives us, the Circle of Security gives us a map to help us identify our children's needs, and then actually what they need from us and how we need to respond as carers. So in this way, relationships are interactive. And if you could just see that circle there, what we're looking at is foster carers being that secure base and that safe haven. So they're those hands there at the end of the circle. And what we're doing, those hands are supporting our children to go out into the world and to explore. And you know, those carers are asked to kind of watch over, delight and help and enjoy with their child at that point, or teenager. And also it's about welcoming that child back in and supporting them, comforting, you know, nurturing, protecting. And I think a big one for our children is organizing their feelings. So, you know, we talk a lot about kind of emotional dysregulation. So our children that really can't manage those big feelings because they haven't been taught how to, they haven't had a security to do that within. And that is the kind of carer's role in a way to do that. And recognise as well where that child is on the circle. So what is their need? Do they need to explore at this point? Or actually at this point, do they need me to kind of welcome them in and fill up their emotional cup? So what we'll do is we'll show a bit of a video with regards to Circle of Security, just to introduce our model that we're working with to you.
Parents, we all wonder if we're getting it right. We want to know we're meeting our children's needs, helping them grow and giving them all that we can. We try to combine our own experience of being parented with the advice of others and our own instincts and beliefs about what is best. And still, we so often worry that we're not succeeding. In a world that is always offering the next best parenting solution, the Circle of Security is based on decades of attachment research. Unlike many behavioral perspectives, it offers relationship tools to provide a new way of understanding your children's needs, creating lasting security for them and more satisfaction for you. The Circle graphic has been created to help you know what to look for, so you can read your children's behavior to guide you in meeting their needs. It's really not complicated. People of all ages have attachment needs. These needs can be divided in 3 ways. Let's look at this child. First, he needs to know the freedom and confidence to go out and explore his world. Second, he needs to feel assured that whenever he's ready, he can come back for comfort and protection. Third, he needs his caregiver to be in charge in a kind way. 3 basic needs that can be thought of as going out on the circle, coming in on the circle, and hands on the circle. Let's have a look in more detail. Feeling safe and supported, our children want to discover their world. When going out, they need to know that their exploration is encouraged, that we're right there watching over them, delighting in them, offering help when needed, and ready to enjoy their new adventures with them. And when they're coming in, they need us to refill their emotional cup. This means organizing their emotions and letting them know we are delighted to welcome them back, protect, comfort, and understand them. The key for us as parents is to remain strong and kind while knowing when to encourage their going out into the world and how to be available to welcome them back to us. It's crucial that we learn to identify our children's needs like this, because misreading them, or worse, missing them altogether, can cause pain and frustration. We all know how uncomfortable it can be to be held too close when we want to be out exploring, or kept at a distance when we need emotional support, or simply to be without someone who is bigger, stronger, wiser and kind, who we can trust to understand what we need when we're feeling lost, confused, or out of control. When a child misbehaves, the cause is often rooted in how safe and secure they're feeling. So it's not surprising that they behave well when a parent learns to tune into their child's needs on the circle in this way. And because our needs on the circle never disappear, learning to read cues can help you better understand and meet the needs of people of all ages, including your own. So that's all there is to it. Just know that at any given moment, your child is somewhere on the circle asking you to meet a need. Support my going out. Welcome my coming in. Be the hands that keep me safe by staying in charge and committed to helping me feel connected. And please remember this, there's no such thing as perfect parenting. At Circle of Security, we've come to realize that good enough is, well, good enough. All of us are going to miss needs on the circle time and again. Welcome to the club. But if we meet our children's needs enough of the time, the results will be happier, healthier, more secure children, and parents too.
And
Thank
I
you,
love
Hayley.
that, because I think it's really important. So in a normal scenario, the hands are going to be a family member. Actually, because in this scenario, it's going to be a foster carer. They're also having to build trust and, with that child, for them to understand that the carer is their hand. They are that safe place for them to go back to. And that takes a lot of work, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It takes work and it takes a lot of time. And, as you've highlighted, that's not their experience. So actually having those safe hands might feel kind of really strange and uncomfortable, and we might get real pushback against that. So yeah, you're absolutely
never
right.
experienced, isn't it? And I think you know, Josh described in the video, didn't he, of, you know, sort of when he got into trouble and got arrested, you know, his foster carer was there, wasn't he? You know, ready to sort of welcome him back. And sort of, although something, you know, quite serious had gone on, he was there and available for him. And the importance of having that relationship is so key, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's the routine and the boundaries of them knowing that it's having someone there to tell them that they've done wrong. But look, you've done wrong. How is it that you can learn from it, and what can we do to change that going forward? And it's just, that's all coming into this, isn't it? It's having that you can, you know, trust as well of going out. You can let them go out as long as, you know, and then how they welcome back in. You know, it's all so important. It's all so connected, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it kind of links with that, you know, bigger, stronger, wiser and kind, because I think some people might worry that, you know, does that mean we can't ever say no or put in boundaries? And actually that's not what the model's about, because it is about sometimes being stronger and bigger, and that means kind of taking the lead and putting in boundaries that help our children feel safe, but it's also doing that with real kindness and empathy, and getting that balance right. It's difficult. And it says,
and it's
actually,
not going to happen.
Be good enough. Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight, is it? We know that that it's just time and patience. It's not going to happen overnight. But that's when you can see the rewards of fostering, is that you can see that they would go out and they come in, you know, and that's what you're waiting for. That's what you're striving for, isn't it?
Yeah. And even those teenagers, it might just be a little text message, you know, and you think, oh, actually, they are checking in with that. You know, it might not be physically coming in on the circle, but they're still connected, even when they're not present, which is lovely. But yeah, I guess that kind of leads on to our case studies. I just wanted to highlight a few really of the children that we have within our foster homes at the moment, and the kind of therapeutic approaches that are used that are making it work. So we've got David. He was placed with a carer, joined her family when he was 4. And he experienced extreme kind of neglect and deprivation. He was still in nappies when he arrived. He was non-verbal, so he didn't use words, and he was still drinking milk from a bottle. And that was really his kind of diet, really. And actually, what this carer has done, as you say, Hayley, has been very, very patient, very, very consistent, very, very routine. And what this carer particularly has done in terms of her therapeutic approach is use play. She uses play so much to interact and build trust with the child, and for him to learn about the world and relationships in a safe way. She uses song, she uses music, and actually also tapping into his sensory needs, particularly because he came and he wasn't talking, so using kind of water and drumming and rhythm and things like that. And actually this child is now in school, he's using words, he uses the toilet, he still has food issues, as in he will always want to eat if he can, but there's such significant improvements. And I think it is just about, you know, that consistency and what we would term, I guess, a therapeutic approach, which is awesome. We got Eva, yeah, a different young person. She's autistic. Eva's autistic and has quite a lot of complex medical needs, actually. And her early life was characterized by real heated arguments within the family home that got quite physical. She then had some foster placements, which also I guess where things weren't de-escalated because of the approach taken. I think there was a misunderstanding actually of Eva's needs. But what we found is when she was placed with our carers here at Nexus, they really understood what it meant to be autistic, what it meant to be Eva, what it meant to have those medical needs, and I guess how she saw the world. And actually, when there was that understanding in place, we saw a real kind of de-escalation of kind of arguments. You know, they didn't even get to that heated point. And actually, we now see Eva, you know, she's what we call in a staying put arrangement. So carers have offered her a home into adulthood, and she's settled and she's at college. Again, because of the approach that's taken and that real understanding of her story, which is awesome. Lewis, again, another really different young person. He's not in school. He was excluded from school, really struggled in that environment because of kind of behaviour and interactions with other peers. he also has real high anxiety around peer relationships, and in a way was quite isolated at home. We have a carer that's very supportive and understanding of his needs, and actually with a support worker that's been going in kind of for 15 hours a week, he is absolutely kind of flying. He does a climbing sessions weekly, and he's so skilled at climbing. And I think because we've homed in on an interest of his, he's thriving. He even said to his support worker, look how far I've come, you know, look how confident I am. He's got friends there. He teaches other people at the climbing wall, you know, skills and how to do it. And for me, in terms of the progress and the impact that having a support worker with him has had is phenomenal, really. So that's a huge, I would say, success in terms of a therapeutic approach. And then we have children like Juliet who really struggle with their mental health. Juliet recently was discharged from hospital due to being kind of very unwell, and she self-harms. But what we have there is we have carers that actually respond to her with real kindness and acceptance, right? So they accept her for who she is. They attend to her wounds and her needs with real care and real, a real gentle nurture. And that's helping her feel kind of really held emotionally. There isn't that kind of fear there, or any shame that's kind of infiltrates their responses. It's just pure acceptance. And again, that's that welcoming a child in, and she is beginning to settle, which is great, because it's not easy. It really isn't, and we really worry about our young people. But just being those safe hands, I guess, and that safe haven, whatever's going on, really benefits young people like Juliet. So all different, but all really positive in terms of what our carers are doing.
So this is Tim. He's a foster carer. I think he's been with us 6-7 years, I think. So he was initially approved as a parent and child foster carer, and then his circumstances changed, and he is now a therapeutic care foster carer. And he loves it, doesn't he, Julia? He just embraces everything. I think the thing with therapeutic fostering is there's the opportunities to learn and support other foster carers. As Julia's just said, every child is different, and but what the common thing for carers is they're all there to support each other, and it's really important that they are, so, because it's hard, and we're not saying it's not, but there's the opportunities to grow and learn and develop and really help the children that need it most. And so this is just a little video from Tim.
Yeah, so I think therapeutic fostering is just about, the expression I love is all behaviour has a meaning. So trying to unpack what is behind either good or perceived negative behaviour. And again, it's about that perceived thing. It's looking at what the child has been through and why they might be displaying particular behaviours, and helping them to unpack that in a very gentle and a very loving way. And I think in terms of the support that we've had from Nexus and how that works out for us, we've had what we call a 360 placement, and that we had a placement with our previous agency that didn't have that, and the placement failed. But with the 360, what I love about it is you have that team around the child support. So you've got a clinician, you've got regular supervision, you've got the support of everyone around you, and all coming together to share how to support that child the best. And that team around the child has been so important for us, and it's helped us no end to celebrate the good times as well as to help us during the difficult times. It's been an absolute godsend for us.
So Tim's talked a little bit about the support and sort of, how they found it as foster carers. So I think it's important, after everything we've thought about in terms of, the power of therapeutic fostering, is that, Nexus are here to support foster carers, to enable them to do that and to work therapeutically. So you'll see on the slides, we've just included some details of kind of, the about support workers.
Okay.
Julia talks a bit about the impact that the support worker has had on the young person, and you know, the kind of the therapeutic input and the success of that. We offer therapeutic training, which includes the circle of security therapeutic approach, which we've, you know, you've seen the video and we've talked a little bit about earlier. There's also regular supervision from your local supervising social worker, you know, the duty service. So, you know, there's 24 hours support basically from the team that will be around the child. We also offer sort of respite for foster carers and children to kind of take a break, and we recognise the importance of that in order to sort of, you know, sustain resilience and, you know, in order to sort of manage some of the difficulties. And also the team around the child meeting. So that just brings it all together. All the professionals that are working around the child and that are involved have regular meetings so that everyone's kind of coming from the same approach. So I guess, you know, it's important for us, you know, if you are considering fostering, is to sort of offer that reassurance that, you know, it wouldn't be done alone. You know, there's a whole team of people that will support you on that journey, you know, to basically become a therapeutic foster care, I think. Yeah, so, and, you know, to, you know, help you as a foster carer really understand those needs of the child and kind of to help you look beyond the behaviours. I think Josh described himself, didn't he, as sort of obnoxious and ungrateful. You know, that's what might come across, but actually there's so much beneath that that needs kind of understanding.
I think there's a stereotypical image, isn't it, that children are in care because they're naughty, and actually that's not the case. It's that they've received a level of trauma or abuse or neglect of some form, and actually that's really going to affect them. So what we're needing carers to, you know, to really, as you say, understand that, look beyond them and really help them and develop themselves, that it's, you know, it's not their fault. But we're really trying to, you know, really kind of trying to stop that, people coming in going, oh, you know, there's lots of children in care. Yes, there is, but it's because they're going through a level of trauma. So there's not enough foster carers at the moment to look after all of those children in care. But I think that's really important to understand that they're not in care because they're naughty.
No, definitely not. And also, I think, you know, as you've sort of touched on, the children that have experienced trauma, often the foster carers can really feel that pain as well. So it's about how we hold our foster carers to hold the children, isn't it? You know, and an acknowledgement of that. That, you know, we support foster carers to support the children and what that kind of looks like.
And I think we touched on the education earlier. So we've got Andy, our head of education, and you know, education is a big thing for any child, let alone, you know, it's sometimes it's not the best you know, scenario for them to be in and learn. But we do have a session in week 7 with Andy for him to explain kind of all the options that are out there and how, as a foster carer, you can really support children that you need it and struggle. You know, it's okay for, you know, to struggle. It's then finding the ways of how we can support them best. So that's in week 7. So if you do have any questions for Emily and Julia, please use the Q&A function. We've had a few in. So what determines a child needing this therapeutic support and who decides it?
Oh, that's a really good question. So Nexus receive referrals from local authorities when they're looking to find a child a home. So our placements team and our social work team will consider the information on the child's referral, think about their trauma, their attachment, their experiences and their presenting needs. And then they'll make a decision about what level of support that child and the foster carers need. But, you know, the support kind of comes secondary. First of all, we'll be thinking about the match between the child and the foster, you know, is it a match in terms of the child's needs and the foster carers' experiences and what they can offer.
Do foster carers need any certain qualities to be able to, or skills to be able to become a therapeutic foster carer?
Oh, I feel like there's a long list for this one.
Yeah.
But all girls, you know, all carers are different. I think they all bring something different. I think what stands out for me is Dan Hughes' PACE model. If you know, if you haven't heard of that, I would look it up. And PACE stands for P is for playful. So carers that are playful, able to get down and connect with children in that way, I think is amazing. Accepting, so when carers can accept their children for who they are, and you know, for the story and what they bring. To be curious, so curious about what might be going on for that child, what, you know, what does lie behind that behavior. And the E stands for empathy, so being, you know, having a really empathic approach. So for me, PACE is a really helpful thing to remember.
Do they need to come from any particular background for this kind of therapeutic fostering? So any kind of employment or roles, or is there transferable skills that they can use for this?
Definitely transferable skills. So what we'll be looking at is kind of like potential to and willingness to like work as part of a team, you know, take on advice, have that kind of deeper understanding, be reflective, that kind of thing. So, you know, there's no specific, you know, like work experience or anything like that. It's just about people's approach and their, you know, openness and willingness.
Definitely. And I think Tim mentioned in his video about therapeutic play. Can you give us a bit more examples about the training that we can offer for this as well?
For the play, Hayley, did you say?
Yeah, so any kind of training that we can give them that includes the therapeutic kind of play or courses that we give.
Yeah, so I deliver a workshop called the importance of play. So we do a bit of playing there, and we think about kind of, you know, why it's important, why our children may have missed out on what play is or had that experience to do that. And yeah, we get people kind of experimenting and being creative. And I think actually once you kind of can connect with yourself in a playful way and get down to that level, you're gonna be able to connect with your children more easily. And some of our kids, you know, when we think about talking about difficult feelings or experiences, you know, some of our children won't be able to do that, but actually getting out kind of some little figures or some sand or some Play-Doh can be a really lovely way to engage in that and help a child feel kind of heard and supported. So yeah, we can definitely offer help around that.
And so support wise, you know, we're here for everybody, you know, 24/7. And it's a kind of really getting to know other foster carers. It's all those hints and tips, and people, you know, carers have, you know, they thrive on this. They love being able to really help and understand children's behavior. And so, you know, having the opportunity to speak to them at support groups or, you know, over WhatsApp, all that kind of the support is around them. It's not just for us, but actually they get a lot from other foster carers, don't they?
Definitely. And also I think, you know, foster carers own networks as well. So like their own that support, you know, whether it be emotional, practical, you know, having a support network is really helpful.
Just there's another question. So is there an age limit in terms of minimum age of which you can become a carer?
Oh, good question. Do
So
you know,
legally
Hayley?
it's 21.
I was going to say it's 21. I was like, are you
21.
trying to trick us, Hayley?
Just putting it out there to the team. Yeah, it's 21. So again, it's kind of the process is that, you know, we would then kind of speak to you about your circumstances, whether kind of fostering is right for you now, whether it's in the future. We then do an initial visit. So we'd come to your home and kind of talk to you about Nexus and a bit about what you as a foster carer could offer, kind of what is your strengths, why is it that you want to be a foster carer. Then you'd be put into an assessment. So it's about a 6 to 8 week assessment, and really kind of delving deep into, you know, why is it that you want to become a foster carer? Are you 21? Is it that it's later life and, you know, your children have gone to university, that you kind of want to give back to the community? All those things and references and everything are collated in that assessment. And then you go to panel at the end of that for them to recommend whether they would, you know, recommend you to the agency, the decision maker, to become an approved foster carer. So all of that's on the website. So yeah, here's our information. There's lots of information on the website. There's a fostering process video. There's lots of foster carer stories. You know, carers are at the heart of everything that we do. So having their real life stories on our website for people to look at and read. You know, it's important that they're honest, which they are. You know, this is it's hard. We know it's challenging, but actually having our foster carers tell their stories to you, you know, they're all on there. So do have a look. Next week, it's we're talking about unaccompanied asylum seeking children and fostering children with disabilities. So another, you know, 2 types of fostering that Nexus can offer. So if there's no other questions, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Emily and Julia, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.